This woman here in the weapons store, in the armor store, oh my word, she does my head in.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned it before, but this woman in the shop, she was one you used to use on GameCube if you wanted to dupe items.
No way.
You basically, if you talk to the NPCs with a little bit of distance away, you can kind of drag them towards you a little bit. And what you would do is you would basically keep dragging it over to one of the counters, and you'd get it where you could talk to one of the counters and talk to the NPC at the same time, and it would basically confuse the game, and you'd end up like withdrawing and duplicating an item at the same time.
That's so broken. That is so broken.
People did it all the time, particularly on GameCube. People would just dupe everything.
Oh, that's funny. Wow. Oh god, I miss days where they literally couldn't patch anything.
Yeah. I think on GameCube though, it was kind of like self-preservation as well, because there was so many people in the lobbies that just wanted to just, freeze your game and would delete everything that you didn't have equipped if you got frozen.
Oh my word.
So people would do it deliberately just to screw with you. So you would get people that would just duping all their items, just preserve the stuff they've got.
So, as people that may not know, the Dreamcast didn't have like the most reliable modem port at all. And if you so much as touched it, brushed it, or if your mum happens to walk in and hoover and disconnect it, then that can have a serious issue in you getting back into the room. So I lost a lot of stuff just because my cable got disconnected, and I refused to play the game for about 2 weeks, and then I eventually just solved all my issues and carried on again. Oh my god, this damage is pitiful.
Yeah, basically on GameCube when I used to play it online, it was a case of every time you played online, you just prayed that your internet connection didn't cut out. Just because you knew that if it did cut out, you were either going to lose stuff you didn't have equipped or just lose your character.
I kind of said this last night when I was streaming, but one thing that attracted me to the game was the box art. Even before I'd even played the game, and seen anything about it, just seeing like that first image where all of the characters are like stacked in the center, like behind each other, I've just thought was really cool. And I don't think that ever really left my brain, to be fair. I still every day I look on eBay and like other selling sites for the official PSO. Do you remember the guide, like the English guide?
Okay, yeah.
That guidebook or walkthrough or whatever it's called at the time. I had one of those for the longest time. I don't know where it is now, but I must have read those pages like at least 1,000 times each page. Like, it was ridiculous. I used to read it just like go to bed and stuff, memorize pretty much everything.
It's one of those things, isn't it? Like, I suppose if you're of a certain age like us, when you bought a game like PSO, I don't know about you, but I would sit down and read through the manual and like look at all like the information about all the classes and everything. It was just cool.
Yeah. Even like totally like unrelated, but for even games that weren't remotely as in depth, like I don't know, Call of Duty 4 or Modern Warfare 2, like I would sit on the way home, I'd have the game in my hand and I'd be like opening it up, like taking all the packaging off, looking through the manual and the box art and all that sort of stuff, because
I
mean, I guess you could then, like, whereas now, like, what are you gonna do? Like, look at your Steam code? I don't really. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you're going to read the Steam page.
Really do. Yeah, this is not what can you do. But no, I agree with you. There was some real magic there as well, and I think what also takes away the experience these days is that for every console, there was a little bit of like an individual flair to each console. Like GameCube had quite a wacky sort of controller. Dreamcast had these like hideous things that you would put in the back of the controller to save things or put a rumble pack in, and they all had their individual quirks. Whereas now, it's very much just like you download the game, you play it on your computer, everything's accessible to you, and that's it. I never realised actually how many weapons from this game are actually in PSU as well.
Oh, yeah, there's loads.
There is, isn't there? There's so many that have been taken.
Even going forward now to NGS, although there's not many of the actual weapons as weapon drops, there's a lot of what are called weapon camos, which basically make your weapon look like something else, and like skins basically. And there's a ton of PSO skins.
Yeah, I kind of noticed yesterday that a lot of enemies in Ultimate don't really have any chill because I'd spawned into that little arena as you go into the second stage of Forest, and like everything just collapses on top of you within seconds.
Oh yeah, yeah. The speed increase in Ultimate is really really noticeable. Honestly, I feel like Episode 1 Ultimate is fairly forgiving, particularly Forest. I think is quite an easy way to sort of ease you into Ultimate. Nothing is ridiculously difficult. Stuff hits pretty hard when you first get here, but overall, I think it's manageable.
Yeah,
I think it's a good starting point, definitely.
What this might sound like a really stupid question because you're probably gonna be like, I don't know, I just wanted to play that class. But what drew you to the Hugh Newell? What kind of made you want to play that? As I'm going to assume that's your main at 171.
Definitely, yeah. So I've got 171 here. On the SEGA Blueburst servers, I hit 200 with the Hugh Newell.
Oh wow!
And
how long does that take? Sorry to diverge, but
I want to say for me it took probably a course of a couple of years, but I was balancing between a few different characters, so it's hard to give like a definite time for it really.
An actual, yeah, of course.
It's not too bad until you get to sort of mid 180s, and then the grind just kicks in really really hard. But yeah, I've also got a 160 on GameCube as well.
Oh wow! Do you still play GameCube then, in amongst things or not?
Very rarely. I think, to be honest, I get pretty much everything I want from Blueburst now, so there's not a whole lot of reason. Other thing is that my GameCube is not particularly healthy anymore, so it has some like discrete problems now. It's how much I've played it.
Yeah, no, I can
literally
understand
worn
that.
out.
I can understand that.
I think the main reason I main Hugh Newell, I think, is because I like the sort of the dichotomy of the class. So I like how, well, my main thing is I love playing Hunter primarily. So Hunters have always been my favourite sort of archetype of class in PSO.
Yeah.
But I love with Hugh Newell that you can also effectively run as this kind of like a backup force. So, you know, you can be on the front lines, but you can still throw out heals, you can still throw out buffs if there's no force in the party. It's just a really, really versatile class.
I see that. I see from sort of, even when I was playing with you yesterday, just having that. I mean, there's nothing worse than being in a group full of androids, or no one's got a decent level shift or a D-band, and then you're all just sort of slogging through it. As much as a Hugh cast can hit really hard, you've still got limitations there if you haven't got the stuff to support around you as well.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I just think it's a weird class Hugh because it's a brilliant solo class because you can obviously buff yourself, you can debuff enemies, you've still got reasonable damage. You are one of the weaker hunters, but it's still pretty good damage. But in party play, it's kind of a weird class because if you've got a force in your party, there's not much need to have a Hugh because they've got better buffs.
Of course.
And they can just buff the androids and make them ridiculously strong. So it is kind of an awkward place for multiplayer, but I still really enjoy it. And to be honest, even for like the harder areas in the game as well, like places like Tower, if you've got a force in the team, sometimes it's handy just to have another character that can support, because the force is going to be doing so much support in any way that sometimes it's just handy to have a bit of help as well.
Of course.
What about yourself? Is Raymar your main class then?
I think what spurred me to play this class initially, because this is one of my first. Well, actually, I tell a lie. I started off as a hunter, and then I met Bernie in one of the side stories.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, wow, this guy's got a flamethrower. Like, he's got cool hair. He's a bit of an asshole, but I kind of like him, sort of thing. And just ever since then, I was like, yeah, that's what I want. I want like a big gun. I just want to shoot stuff. But then I like the Hugh cast because I like the interaction with Kyrie and kind of his storyline, and they're kind of my only two like main characters. I am in desperate need of leveling my Hugh cast up. I think it's at 72 now. He's not that far off Ultimate, but it's just once you're in Ultimate already, it's quite hard to actually. I know that sounds ridiculous, but to go back and kind of then level something else up to try and drag it through. There's going to get to a time there where I'm going to go back to normal hard or very hard to level a character up, and I'll be in caves and I'll be like running away from lilies because I'm like, I really don't want to die, and then they just shoot poison. I'm like, oh, okay, this is fine.
Yeah, particularly if you're on your Hugh cast. run away from poison as Android.
Yeah. I kind of told myself I don't want to look at any meta builds or anything straight away. I just kind of want to play it and just enjoy it. But I see a lot of people with like crazy mags. Do people tend to just trade them for like PDs, or do they like level them up, or what's the consensus normally?
It's a mixture of both, honestly. So for my Uni Wars mag here, I leveled this from scratch. I did mess up on the Photon Blast, so it's got Fowler as a Photon Blast, which is not a particularly good one, which has now become a bit of a meme in my community. So my members are actually now called the Fowler fam because of that.
One thing that I really struggle with is like the 45-degree angles in this game.
Yeah.
Like you could turn slightly to like shoot something and it's like just out of the way and you end up like putting a few bullets into nothing.
Yeah. It does take a while getting used to that. I still whiff shots all the time on my Ranger, so yeah, don't worry about it.
It was in this exact spot that I first started to get trust issues with this game, because I walked down here and I was like, oh, everything's fine. And then I just got absolutely clapped by a Hildebeer that just jumped out of nowhere. Like, critted me, killed me when I was like, I think I was like level 7 or something by the time I got here. And I was like, right, okay. I do not trust anything now. Anything ever again.
Yeah, you get to a point in Forest where you're just constantly looking at the map to see if you see the dots spawn off the map.
Oh no, it's so bad. I think it's a weird boss fight because depending on who you've got in your party and what you're doing, the first phase can often seem more difficult than the second by a long shot. I watched, you've probably seen this, like, I guess it's a meme. It's like a little skit where someone's got like 7 monitors set up in a room and they've just like photoshopped Bollock like walking through it. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
That makes me laugh every time I see that. There's a guy holding like a walking stick or something, like trying to like shoot it or something. I can't remember what it is exactly, but it was very funny. It made me laugh a lot.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was thinking people are making PSO memes in 2024.
Yeah, I thought the same. Loads of people have been commenting on a couple of my videos saying that, oh, you know, the remaster's coming, remaster this, like, oh, you know, if you can believe the rumors of remasters coming. I don't know. I really don't believe the hype at all. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for a remaster to come out now when they're on the cusp of doing what they are with NGS, and it just seems crazy to me.
In regards to whether I think it's coming or not, I think that Sega will do something for 2025 for the anniversary of PSO, because it'll be the 25th anniversary. But I don't know if it's a remaster, because similar to what you mentioned, really, obviously if they release a remaster, all it's going to do is pull people away from NGS.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Sega don't want people pulled away from their main money-making game, or their main money-making Phantasy Star game anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the likes of, you know, PSU and PSO being run on private servers is doing absolutely nothing for them. So
yeah,
it's a massive source of income for them to lose out on. It just wouldn't make a lot of sense unless they release it and heavily monetize this game. But I don't see how you would do that. If you're sticking to the true value of what this game is, what can you really do?
To be honest, I think if they did monetize a remaster of PSO, I don't know if I'd be interested in playing it, because it wouldn't feel the same to me.
No, it wouldn't. No, I agree.
Yeah, I think with the kind of community that PSO is, I think people wouldn't think twice about supporting the private servers. I don't know if they'd feel the same about, you know, if they did a Sega remaster with microtransactions. I don't know how well that would be received. I know that people do throw money at NGS for the gacha tickets, but I don't know how you would work it for PSO.
That's one system that's come into our limelight, which I can honestly say wholeheartedly I absolutely despise. I don't know, like, I feel like if you go back to what a gacha actually is, even in Japanese terms, you have way more luck and it's way more fair to get what you want out of those machines than it is in a game where... Did you ever read up about a game called Maple Story by any chance?
I've heard of Maple Story, but I've never played it or anything.
So it was like a 2D-ish kind of like MMO kind of game, and they got in a lot of hot water because the items they were advertising in their gacha system that it physically wouldn't even give you, or the chance that it would give you is so like inexplicably low, it just wasn't even worth buying.
Yeah.
And they made a ridiculous amount of money like through that. I think it was crazy. It was money I can't even fathom. But that's just the way that everything's gone. Like I feel like you've got to have a level of art style or graphics to be immersed to some extent, you know?
You need to have an art style for the game to have an identity, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. I wonder if it's one of those games where nostalgia just fully drives the theory behind that. And I wouldn't say I would never play it, but just looking at it face value, I was like, I don't know how anyone's playing this game. But I guess a lot of people say that about PSO, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's going to be people who probably look at what we're playing and think, why would anyone play this janky old 20-year-old SEGA game that should have died on the Dreamcast?
Literally. Who doesn't want to come in and get attacked by space chickens?
Exactly.
I've said this time and time again, and I know you'll echo this as well, but there's just something that can be said for how simple but complex this game is.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think it's a very, very simple game to get into, but once you sort of research into it and you look at how sort of much it can open up, it's surprising how complex it actually gets.
Oh, definitely. Well, even from some of your videos, I've learned things that I would never have even known. Like, for example, I keep going back to it, but some of the moveset changes between classes is just insane. I would have never even thought of that, I just love the little, like, cheese strats and stuff that you can do like in these games, like hiding behind doors and like pressing the start menu to get away from traps and like little things like that if someone watched you that had never played this before, they'd be like, what are you doing? Why is the menu open every 5 seconds? Like, I don't understand this.
So I know you mentioned about opening the menu to avoid traps. There's actually another use you can do for that as well. So when you're fighting Volok on his second phase, he's got an attack. I don't know if you've seen it. It's an attack where he tries to imprison you. He fires this like orb at you that chases you.
Oh, that's cool.
It imprisons you if it hits you. If you get chased by that in Ultimate, it goes faster than your character, so you can't actually avoid it. So what you do is you just open the menu and run in circles, and you can avoid it by doing that.
No way. No way. I didn't actually know that. Genuinely, I had no idea. I think because on Dreamcast, because I didn't party that much, I had no idea that the dragon didn't have to go into its diving phase. I had no idea that you could like kill it before that. Am I going to do any damage with these mech guns? I bet I'm not. I bet I can't even hit it. Yeah, I'm doing 4s and 2s. Let's put that away immediately.
Yeah, I would normally berserk spam this, but I'm not going to do it just so it lasts longer than about 5 seconds.
Do you have a favourite weapon that you've got currently? I see you using those like dual swords.
Yeah, so that's Sanga and Yasha. So
yeah,
they're a pretty good twin sword. There are better ones in the game, but I've always used them because Yasha is one of the rarest items in the game in the like GameCube and Xbox and on the old Sega servers. And it was one of the very few sort of uber rare things I ever found in PSO. So it's just something I've always used, like a sort of signature weapon, I guess.
I think it looks really cool with the build you've got. I don't know, those blades, they just look kind of timeless. I've never seen this attack. This is interesting.
Quite like the Silver Dragon, honestly. I think it's a pretty cool little change. I think
was not used to how fast he is. Like when he first spawns in, you're like, oh, I've got acres of time. Like, don't even worry about it. And he's just in your face. You're like, whoa, okay. But I am always still so impressed. Look at, like, they've even replicated the Northern Lights in the background. Like, I know that's probably not exactly what they were going for, but like, it just, they could have. You think for the time this game released, they could have put nothing there. That could have been like.
Yeah.
Like mesh or just black and no one would even bat an eyelid. But there's so much thought that's gone into it. Like even these little holes on the floor with like the meshes and textures that in most modern games now they disappear. Like they're just still here after all this time.
Yeah. The only thing I found really strange about this arena in Ultimate is obviously in normal hard and very hard you're fighting it underneath the Sentinel Dome. Makes sense. Ultimate, it's just you've just gone to a completely different island in a completely different part of the world. There's like no link to the forest at all.
Yeah, actually, I've never even thought of that until you said that.
Like, yeah, you fight all the way through the forest, and then all of a sudden you're in Antarctica.
Yeah. Geographically incorrect. I've never thought of that actually, because I suppose actually if you fight the dragon underground, ultimately in a cave, that would make sense that the next place you go to is a cave,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. Whereas you'd think, okay, right, so where are we off to now? Are we off to like see Santa, or like what's going on?
It's the snow level next.
I think for the episodes that I have played, I think episode 2 on, I think kind of the sea bed level. I don't know if it's the sea bed or like the sea side level. I think it's definitely my favorite. I don't know what it's called. Is it the one after jungle?
Yeah, so the one we were doing last time.
Yeah, I love that so much.
Yeah, I think Seaside's probably one of my favorite levels as well. It's just such like a really tranquil area. And just with the music and everything as well, it just all fits together for me.
I love it. I really do. I just think it's so. It's gonna sound weird to say this, but it's very like PSO. Do you know what I mean? It's like that kind of. There's a stage in PSO 2 Classic where you go down to the seabed and like the beach and stuff, and
yeah,
that kind of reminds me of it slightly. But it's very much something they do really well. Like in PSU, there's the Paracabana Coast, which is just like really nice, you know.